women, men supporting women, all of you. This formula is one that I'm personally proud of because I put a lot of my own energy into working on this product. And honestly, the older I get, the more I appreciate that it exists. When we were putting transitions together, I think one of the things that has come up a lot over the years as a question is people really saying, well, this is just a formula for women when they have hot flashes. And I hope to convince you in a few minutes tonight that this really isn't. This is really a women's health formula that has some very nice support in it for when women have hot flashes, because they're annoying and they're bothersome and they can disturb your sleep and your sense of peace during the day. But also this formula does a lot more than that. So we should not just think about it during those years for women when they may be going through perimenopause or menopause, but we can really think about it through a whole midlife transition for women. I think this is really an appropriate formula for women experience a range of changes that are normal in the body that often start even in their 30s and, can continue for many years. So now that I said that, I'm going to start with some of the things that can help with hot flashes, because they are something that can really be disruptive for people. So we do have some great botanicals in here that do help women very specifically when they have those transitional symptoms. That is where we took the name for this. We have black cohosh primarily. Black cohosh is a really, really well studied botanical. There's literally been hundreds of studies that have looked at it for women who are all three sort of stages: perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal. So this is a botanical that really can support women through all of those stages of their life. It helps not just with hot flashes, but a lot of the other common symptoms that women experience when their hormones are changing. So some of the things with their mood, we've looked at black cohosh very specifically for things related to mood changes that go along with hormonal fluctuations. Also some benefit for sleep. So all of those things kind of together in this one plant. Very well studied, very safe. There's a little bit of a misnomer. Sometimes people think that black cohosh is an estrogen. It's not. It doesn't really even work on estrogen receptors in the body. It's working on other receptors that are involved in how we regulate hormones and how we regulate some of the neurotransmitters in our brains. So really wonderful plant and important part of this formula. We also have red clover. That's another really well-known women's herb. So it is used for menopause symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats, but also really for skin health. So we see some benefits in the skin with black cohosh, also with the brain. So not just in this case for mood like we see with black cohosh, but for really like symptoms of things like brain fog, those kinds of things that can actually happen pretty commonly when women get hormonal fluctuations. And bone health. I always forget to mention this about clover, but I saw one of the studies when I was looking some things up today, and I really want to make sure I mention that. But bone health is, we think about calcium, we think about magnesium, vitamin D, those things, but we do have some botanicals, red clover being one of them, that has some research on helping to slow bone loss as women get older. And bone loss, again, I like to give a reminder, not something that just starts when women are like 50. Women really reach peak bone mass in their 20s. And after that, they're either maintaining bone or they're losing bone. That's it. So, important thing for women to be thinking about through a lot of their life. We have flaxseed in here. Flax is getting some really good, new, interesting research, partly because it has some very interesting fiber components that support the microbiome. So that's like an extra bonus benefit of having flax in this formula, is supporting the microbiome. But again, very good for a range of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes again in this case, but there's actually a fiber in flax that helps to process, like it helps women with how they process hormones once they've made them in their gut. So it kind of helps with a little bit of what we consider to be hormone metabolism, and very useful that way. And again, some interesting microbiome work coming out also with flax. And because we just talked about cardio-wise, I will say there's some additional cardiovascular benefit very specific to flax, helping with heart health and with healthy blood fats as well. We have ginseng. I remember when we were first putting this formula together and people were like, well, isn't ginseng kind of like for male stamina and things? And I'm like, women need stamina too. It's not just a man thing. So ginseng, really wonderful for women for sex drive, for libido. Some of the things that are now getting to be okay to talk about, but we were talking about them, a decade or more ago with this formula, saying that's a really important area of health for women, is to be able to maintain healthy libido, healthy sexual function. Ginseng also helps to maintain positive mood. It's in the class of herbs that we call adaptogens. So it helps the body respond better also to stress. So it's really great for also mood, stress response, and again, libido. And then very specifically, I want to call out that we put some herbs in here that are very soothing and are really good for support for sleep. So we have a little bit of valerian in here. Valerian is a botanical that works on GABA receptors. Those are our nerve receptors in the body that are kind of calming. So they help us to be able to relax. They kind of counter all of our stress hormones, those receptors do. So we consider them to be inhibitory. So they're not like a sedative in the way that like a sedative drug would be, but they help people calm themselves and relax enough so that if they're, say, having too many thoughts around sleep or having a hard time falling asleep, very, very good for that. And similarly, we have an herb in here called jujube, or in Chinese medicine, we call that swanzao ren. It actually comes from a beautiful red date. And that botanical is one of my favorites. It's not only calming, it's wonderful for sleep. And very specifically in Chinese medicine, it's used when people are too hot at night. So night sweats, really, really good for that particular symptom. So I know people sometimes do ask the question of, should I take this product at this time or whatever? If you are a person, if you're a woman taking this formula and you know that sleep is a particular challenge for you, taking this after dinner or before bedtime is really a great time to take transitions, especially if you know that those are some of your particular concerns. I know we're going to run out of time. I just wanted to mention gotu-kola too, because that's another really nice botanical that we have in here that again helps with mood. Gotu-kola has the functions of helping to kind of improve circulation in the brain. And through improving circulation in the brain helps with focus, attention, mood, those kind of symptoms that people think of sometimes as brain fog, which can happen when your hormones may be a little bit more out of balance. So I think that's probably about all that I have time to cover, but I do want to just emphasize that, don't just kind of couch this formula into that, this is only for women during that brief period of time when they're having hot flashes, but it really is good for, women having any kind of experience of their hormones being cycling or kind of off, and beyond, right? So hot flashes are a thing that sometimes happen this long, but hormonal transitions might be, more like this long. So this can be a real go-to formula for women who need more balance in those.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments?
My wife thanks you.
I see a hand just went up. That's a great function. How do you do that? That was great. That's Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, Dr. Jacques. I was just wondering if you have or feel that you have a lot of estrogen, would taking a hormone natural supplement balance that estrogen?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Yes, is the answer to that question most of the time, Sylvia. It's funny. It's like you hear people who don't understand how these kinds of herbs work, and they'll say, "Oh, if you feel like if you have symptoms of too much estrogen," and we could talk about what that means, you shouldn't take botanicals like these because they'll somehow make more estrogen for you. There's nothing in this formula that makes more estrogen. And in fact, what we know about some of these herbs, like we have aspirin in here that does this, flax a little bit, is actually, if women are what we call estrogen dominant, some of these compounds will actually kind of push a little of their estrogen out of the way and actually reduce those symptoms. It's part of how these herbs help to balance hormones, is really acting as kind of modulators at some of those receptors to actually, make them less potent in some ways, if that makes sense. And then we have things like flax that actually help with the process of how your body detoxifies hormones. So they all work really well together. Milk thistle also is another one that helps with those kinds of symptoms that you're asking about. That's a great question. One more, and then I am gonna call it at this point, because I've had a super long travel day, and we're a little bit over, but I do see Linda nicely raised their hand. I like that function. That's great.
Just real quick, I don't see any reason not to take it forever, because of, I always want good skin and hair and all those other things that it does. I don't think that, now that I'm past postmenopausal, it's like I still need those ingredients.
Yeah, it's a great point, Linda. Again, a lot of these botanicals, things like flax, milk thistle, black cohosh, clover, like the research on them doesn't stop at menopause. Like we study these in aging in women in general, for their kind of long-term health benefits. And I think, hot flashes are something that do tend to stop for people, but changes in mood, changes in brain function, skin, as you pointed out, all of those things, sleep, those tend to be processes that are going on for women for decades, right? So great point.
Thanks.
No, thank
John
you.
Paul, I'm just going to jump in. I know you normally turn it over to me, but I just, Dr. Jacques, first of all, thanks. I mean, that was really helpful. I have one closing question for you though.
Yes.
Which is, as I've gotten older, I mean, and as I've learned more about the various supplements that BodyWise manufactures and markets, I think I take more and more. But my morning routine starts with lemon water. I don't like to eat really anything in the morning. I start with lemon water. So if you look at the labels on a lot of the products, it says, take with food or, right. And so when you're taking as many supplements as I am,
yes,
then what do you think about, how to sort of put them into your day?
Oh,
I mean,
we should do it. That's such a great question that we should, JP, take my note on this. We should do a call on that. Like, how do you create a routine? That's a really good question for people. So here's my basic answer, Bill, and then we come back and we should talk. We have not, I don't think, directly addressed that on a call.
No, it's a very practical question.
It's a great topic. How do you build a routine? So first of all, to the people out there who can only take things once a day, because they exist, just take things once a day. If there are people who I call them the once a day people, tell them they have to take things 5 times a day. They will not do it. They will only take things once a day. So your body's pretty smart. Okay. I know we have things labeled AM, PM, whatever. We have them labeled. But if you are a one person, take things once a day. Your body will figure out how to deal with it because it's smart. But you think there is a lot of wisdom. Like I mentioned, I think transitions is often a formula that's great for women to take in the evening at bedtime, right? There are ways that we can get smarter. And I think that the best thing that most people can do is, we don't all keep the same schedule, right? And I think it's important to kind of take stock of like, what's your schedule? What's your normal habits and normal routines? And then figure out where you can naturally include your supplements with what you're already doing. What are your cues for doing that, right? So I know for me, I have been taking supplements long enough that if I don't have a pile of supplements with my morning meal, I feel like it's like I didn't get dressed. Like I feel kind of vacant in it. So it also takes a little time. We have to kind of find those things that become cues for ourselves to do those things. It can help to like put your bottles in various places. So I've talked to people a lot about, some people need to have separate bottles of supplements at their home and at their office, right? Some people need to put them in a place, like I have a place right over here on this counter where my supplement bottles sit in the kitchen so that when I come down in the morning, I see them, I load a little bowl with them, I put them with my breakfast. So, finding the places that you can cue yourself in a way to how and when you take things.
Right.
And then a little part of it is kind of knowing ourselves. Like you just said, you don't really eat breakfast, you do lemon water in the morning. So, depending on how your gut is and other things, you might be one of those people who can just take a bunch of things on an empty stomach and be fine. I am not one of those people. I have always been envious of the people who can do that. So I have to take almost everything I take with some food. Otherwise I regret it. So building routines, it has to be a little bit personal by nature. And I always try, at least when I'm giving some education, to throw in a little bit of, extra wisdom. We try to put a little bit of that on bottles, a little where we suggest like with food, without food. So we should talk about it. It's really important, especially when people are taking a lot, to be able to build a routine that works. And
That's very helpful. Okay.
I like this as a topic. We have not done it, and I would love.
Right. And as you take more and more, you think, wait a minute, taking them all at once, it seems like too much. So I'm now. What I hear you, what I hear you saying though is, you can be flexible and adapt it into your own schedule. And that's probably a good way to go.
And we have people who work, night shifts, for example, right? Those people, their day night is all upside down. Like, I used to get the question all the time from people. I haven't gotten this question all the time. It's like, if I work a night shift, when do I take my AM and PMs?
Right.
My night and day are upside down. What do I do? So that's why I'm saying it has to kind of really work with people's life. So this is a great call. I want to remember this one and come back to it and just do a call and talk about talking about routine building is such a great subject. So thank you for bringing it up. And I would love to have the opportunity to just spend a call talking about it.